This week on I Watched This as an Adult Movie Reviews, I review Weird, the Yankovic Story, and I also review the 2001 crime drama Training Day.
Hey there, I'm Jim.
And I'm Matt.
I'm Dusty.
From Dad's Doing Nerd Shit.
A podcast on the Fandom Limb Media Network.
We talk about all kinds of nerdy stuff.
From Dungeons & Dragons to the MCU.
From video games to semi-current space news.
And anything else that catches our attention.
New episodes go live every Monday morning on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter.
So roll the dice and join us as we discuss the things we love and the culture around being a nerd.
Put it in. I'm tired of people thinking I'm some kind of joke.
Your dad and I agreed it would be best if you just stop being who you are and doing the things you love.
My whole life, all I wanted.
I'm afraid we found your son at a polka party.
Just to make up new words to a song that already exists.
Oh, well, you should do that then.
Ooh, my little hungry one, open up a package of my banana.
Dude, I've got chills.
Every once in a great while, I can spot a talent that I know is the future of music. But first, we gotta find you a stage name. Al Yankovic. It's long, it's hard to pronounce. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. Weird Al Yankovic. I love it.
Weird Al has taken the world by storm.
Do I know you?
Madonna, I was wondering if you were going to do a parody of my song, Like a Virgin.
I'm curious, is that song autobiographical?
Yes. Except for the fact that I've had a lot of sex.
Name me one creative genius that doesn't have a checkered past involving alcohol,
Hudson Madison,
and drugs. I think Madonna's a bad influence on you.
What?
No offense.
I'm a train wreck. My parents wrote me off. I pushed away my band.
You're all just a bunch of normals. I'm the weird one.
You gotta take care of yourself.
I saw in you something special. An artist with something to give to the world.
In front of all the billions of people watching around the world right now, all I want to say is be as weird as you want to be. You will never find true happiness, so you can truly accept who you are. Thank you.
Oh, Al, you can't smoke in here.
I totally deserve that.
Hello and welcome to episode 123 of I Watched This as an Adult Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Mikkel Ford, and I got a really good show for you today. You are in Oscar month. Every November, I do Academy Award nominated or Academy Award winning movies is what I do. Today is going to be Training Day, but before we get to that, as you heard at the beginning of the segment, we're going to talk about something else that should be in contention for Oscar, or in contention for an Oscar. Weird. The Weird Al Yankovic Story is what we're going to talk about right now. I am being sarcastic, by the way, by saying that this movie should be nominated for an Academy Award. I'm not being serious about that. But some people are like, what you talking about? That should be nominated for an Academy Award. No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I'm just being facetious. But Anyway, Weird Al probably would think this should be nominated for an Academy Award because the movie's just fucking absurd. But before I go into that, let me go into my history of Weird Al Yankovic. My history of dealing with Weird Al Yankovic. I grew up a Weird Al fan, like totally a Weird Al fan. He caught me at a young age. I remember seeing him on MTV. That's the first time I saw him. The first time I ever saw Weird Al Yankovic was on MTV, where like I think he hosted MTV for a day. I think he called it Al TV. Yeah, he called it Al TV. This is like sometime I think he would do it every now and again, because I think he had one in the 80s. I think he had one in the 90s. I don't think he had one in the 2000s. By the 2000s, he was done. MTV wasn't even showing music videos by the 2000s. So, so it really wasn't any use for that, for Al TV. But, like, that's the first time I ever seen him. And I saw, like, they played all his parody videos. They played, like a Surgeon, I'm Fat, Amish Paradise. Amish Paradise is my favorite Weird Al song. By the way, I love that one. That's my favorite one. But yeah, he caught me at a young age. I remember he had a Saturday morning show called The Weird Al Show. I remember he had that. I think it was on like CBS or something like that. It was kind of like a mix between Pee-wee's Playhouse and Beekman's World. If you remember Beekman's World, it was kind of a cross between those two shows. But yeah, grew up a diehard Weird Al fan, and I think a lot of kids from my generation, that's how they kind of caught on to Weird Al. Probably from him doing that marathon on MTV, and the Saturday morning show helped too. So like probably garnered a lot of young Weird Al fans there. But let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about this movie. There's not really much to talk about with this movie. It was on Roku. It's not that long. I want to say like the movie's probably like an hour and 30 minutes. Like it's not a long movie by any stretch of any means. Daniel Radcliffe plays our Weird Al. Does a great job. As Weird Al Yankovic. He tries to get his inflection of his voice. I mean, like, he's kind of swole. He's kind of ripped. I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke, too. Because, like, there's a scene where, like, he comes out with his shirt off. Like, there's a couple of scenes where he has his shirt off. And I'm like, I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke. Because I don't think that Weird Al Yankovic is that fucking muscular underneath that goddamn shirt. So, like, I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke. But, like, there's a lot of great things in this movie. There's a lot of like absurd humor, because like what the movie is doing is making fun of music biopics. It's kind of doing like the Walk Hard thing, but I don't think it's as funny as Walk Hard, but it is funny. Like Walk Hard had like this like nuances, making fun of like biopics that the Weird Al story doesn't have, because like they go into making fun of like Ray and Walk the Line, like all those. They made fun of like all those movies. This one kind of makes fun of Bohemian Rhapsody to me. It reminds me a lot of Bohemian Rhapsody. I think Weird Al was sitting around watching Bohemian Rhapsody, and he was just like, hey, I want to make fun of that, but use me. I'm gonna use my story to make fun of this. And it's hilarious. Like I said, Daniel Radcliffe kills it as Weird Al. It's a parody version of Weird Al, because like it's like events that happened to him, but not quite how they happened to him. Like he meets Dr. Demento, he gets on stage with the band, like he does all his songs. All the songs are out of context. Like there's really no time period to when all these songs, because like he does Amish Paradise, and he's still in the 80s. And, like, he didn't do Amish Paradise until like the late 90s, I think mid 90s. So it was like it's kind of out of context and out of place, but it's supposed to be because that's the joke. Another standout here is Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna. She did a great job as Madonna. I'm not really a Evan Rachel Wood fan, but I think she did a good job here. I think she did an amazing job playing a parody version of Madonna that falls in love with Weird Al Yankovic. It's funny. Like they got a bunch of like cameos in here, like Patton Oswalt, Jack Black is in here as Wolfman Jack. I think what's the guy? The guy that played Polka Dot Man is in here, playing like John Deacon from Queen, the bass player for Queen, which he has to remind everybody that he's the bass player for Queen. Because he's like, I'm John Deacon, and everybody's like, who? And he was like, I'm the bass player for Queen. It was like, oh, okay, all right. But yeah, it's a hilarious movie. Like I said, there's not much story to it, not much nuance to it. The ending is hilarious. I'm not going to tell you guys, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to tell you guys what the ending is. But it's the most hilarious thing you ever want to fucking see. Because, like, I'm thinking about it right now. And I remember seeing it, and it made me bust out laughing. I laughed for at least 2 minutes at that goddamn ending. because it's so absurd. The ending is so absurd. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. I'm not going to tell you what it is, what the ending is, but just go watch the movie. It's on Roku for free. It's hilarious. You're not going to be disappointed. It's funny as fuck. The Weird Al Story. Like I said, there really wasn't much. Just a short review of the Weird Al Story. You know, like I said, because it's not to be taken seriously. It's not a movie to be taken seriously. Like, a lot of this shit is just for comedy. It's just for comedy, and it's kind of like he's parodying his own life. So that's pretty much it. That's the review for Weird Al biopic, quote unquote. I'll be back with my review for Training Day right after these messages.
In the next 24 hours, you will learn about the streets, about the choices that will force a dedicated cop over the edge, all in the name of good. In the next 24 hours, the only thing more dangerous than the line being crossed.
Today's a training day, Officer Hoyt. It's your chance to give you a little taste of reality. You think you can handle it?
Is the cop who has crossed it.
I will do anything you want me to do.
Will you? We'll see. If I was a dealer, you'd be dead by now. They build jails because of me. Judges have handed out over 15,000 man-years of incarceration time based on my investigation. You got today, and today only, to show me who and what you're made of. You hear me? That's it. That's what I'm talking about. First day on the job, you hit a $3 million seizure.
Police officer, get away from the girl!
No. We're not racking up arrests today.
You let him go.
What more you want?
I want justice, right?
Is that not justice?
That's street justice.
What's wrong with street justice?
Oh, what? Just let the animals wipe themselves out.
God willing.
It can't be like this.
Open your eyes. Can't you see?
Police, we got a search warrant.
You ain't no police! They're nasty fools! Go dead!
And I didn't sign up for this.
You think I'm crazy, right? We communicate and talk to me. Say it. Say it.
I think you're a road cop.
Learned a lot of things on these streets, boy. Good things and bad things, too.
There's some profoundly evil people walking the streets freely right now.
I'm the police!
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
You never know, that's the point. It's gonna have to be a nice day, huh? It'll get darker. Guarantee you that.
And welcome back to the show. Training Day from 2001. Let's get into the technical. This movie was directed by Antoine Fuqua. I believe this is the first collaboration between Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. Screenplay was written by David Ayer. The budget for the movie was $45 million. It brought in $104.9 million at the box office. And it has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 73%. Like I said, not gonna fight Rotten Tomatoes anymore. Let's talk about how I saw this movie as a kid. Really, I was a teenager when I saw this movie. We had this movie. I remember we had this movie on DVD. Back when DVD was a new thing, like it was starting to be a new thing. I think we had just got a DVD player, and like this is one of the first. One of the first set of DVDs we had because we only had a couple of DVDs at the time, because at the time like DVDs were pretty fucking expensive. So we had Training Day. So like when Training Day came out, we had it on DVD. This was another movie that made me a Denzel Washington fan, because I explained this in my Remember the Titans review. I was not a fan of him before 2000. I was not a Denzel Washington fan before 2000. I've seen Denzel Washington movies before, but I just think I was like too young to understand what made him a great actor. I was a kid, so like I didn't really understand what made him a great actor, because I would see him, and like when I was a kid, he just always came off to me like a black Brad Pitt or a black Leonardo DiCaprio, because like women liked him. That's the one thing I remember about him as a kid. I remember women liked him, and he was a heartthrob guy, and a lot like a Brad Pitt, a lot like a Leonardo DiCaprio, guys like that. A lot like a Matthew McConaughey, something like that. And I didn't think guys like that could be good actors. And all these guys are good actors. Like Brad Pitt's a good actor. DiCaprio, I've come around to like too. Like DiCaprio's become like one of my favorite actors. Matthew McConaughey has become one of my favorite actors. I remember not liking him a lot a long time ago, but like I've come around on these guys and saying like all these guys are good actors. But this was the movie that made me a fan of Denzel Washington. This is like the 1-2 punch. This and Remember the Titans was the 1-2 punch that made me a Denzel Washington fan. And I was like, oh wow, this guy really can fucking act. I was being ignorant. I was being stupid, so like, It made me do that. I saw this movie when I was about like 15, I think about like 14, 15 years old, I think. So let's see how I feel about it as an adult. We start off the movie with Ethan Hawke as Jake Hoyt. He's a police officer trying to make detectives so he can provide a better life for his family. He's really kind of the character that is the avatar for all the crazy shit we're going to see throughout this whole movie. Like, he's really that character. Then we meet Alonzo Harris, played by Denzel Washington, who, at first sight, you just think he's a hard-ass, no-nonsense detective, but we find out that he has something more sinister in his brain than that. He's more sinister than he lets on. From the moment you see Alonzo, there's an aura of menace to him. It's like you could just see, it's just an aura of menace for him, and especially when he and Jake get in his car, because that's when the shit starts getting wild, and you legit like fear. You fear for Jake's life after that. Once they get in that car, which Alonzo calls the office, it was like he has Jake in a chokehold. He has him in a stranglehold, and Jake cannot get out. Jake's life is about to change for fucking ever once he gets in that goddamn car. But Alonzo has a way of pulling Jake in. Even though you fear for Jake's life with Alonzo, he has a way of pulling Jake in by acting like a father figure to him. That's what he does. He acts like a fake father figure, acts like a more like an older brother to him, like he's showing him the ropes, like he's training him, because it's training day. You know, he's doing him like he's manipulating him by becoming like a father figure to him. And he does that so well that he gets Jake to smoke angel dust, bro. Everybody knows this scene. He gets this dude to smoke angel dust. He gets him to smoke the butt naked, the dust, the Sherman Hemsley. You know? Say, hey Jake, I ain't know you like to get wet. You know, he doesn't like that. That's just a taste of the sick shit that Alonzo has Jake doing. But we get some insight to why Alonzo is the way he is from Roger, played by Scott Glenn. Because Roger was also Alonzo's mentor. He's the guy that showed Alonzo the ropes. And he also gives us some very important exposition. Like, because we find out that Alonzo has a bounty on his head because he owes the Russian mob money. You know, so like we find that out. That's an important plot point in the movie. And Roger, let's go back to Roger. You look at Roger, and you can see where Alonzo gets a lot of his mannerisms, like his look and his philosophy. Like Roger taught him everything that he knows. Like Roger is the dude that taught him everything that he knows, all his, like I say, all his mannerisms, all his looks, everything, all his philosophy, this fucked up philosophy that he has, that all came from Roger. Roger was his OG, you know. So it's kind of Roger's fault. But anyway, I like how they play up Alonzo as this run-of-the-mill anti-hero. I love that, because like throughout the movie, even if you look at the trailer, you don't know what's about to happen. You don't know what Alonzo's about to do, because everything he does, he says he does it in the name of the law. That's what he tells Jake anyway. He does it in the name of the law. So you think he's just an anti-hero. But like, and I feel like this movie is kind of taking that trope and like flipping it on its head, you know, like, because it's a played out trope. It's a played out trope that continues to this day, you know. But like, this movie does a great job of making you think that Alonzo is a bad guy with a heart of gold. You know, like it does a great job of that. And they did the best thing they could do. It was like the perfect casting. Like they cast the ultimate good guy in Denzel Washington, you're like, in this role to make it work. Like, because like Denzel Washington has never really played a character like Alonzo. He's played a lot of good people. He's played a lot of good guys. So it's kind of like, because you see Denzel Washington, and then you think about he's a cop, and you're like, maybe he is the good guy. Maybe he is doing this for justice. Maybe he is an anti-hero, but he's not. He's not. Like, they even go after a decoy villain called the Sandman, like to make you think that this is just a run-of-the-mill cop movie. But in reality, the main character is the real villain. I love that they did that. I love that they give you like a decoy villain, like a villain, a red herring villain who we never see. We never see the Sandman, by the way. We never see this dude. So, like, it was all he was bullshitting, you know, like the whole time. He's like, we're gonna go shut this guy down, you know, like because they try to make like the Sandman's like a big drug lord or some shit, but he's nothing. He's just a dude that lives in like South Central or Compton or wherever the fuck. He lives in like the hood in LA. And they make you think that, oh, this is big crime lord. This is what they're gonna take down. But no, we don't see this dude. We never see this fucking guy. You know? Ever. At all. And Alonzo is all up in Jake's head. Like, he's all up in his head. Like, he's always threatening his job and shit. Cause like, he's just always threatening his job. With like, hey, you can go and do parking tickets. You can go and sit at the desk, you know, if you don't want to be out here with me, if you don't want this job or something like that. And so that's how he's able to get Jake to do whatever he wants him to do, because Jake doesn't want to lose his job. He has a family to support, and depending on the type of woman that he has, she might leave him if he doesn't get this job, you know. And that's just the reality of it. That's just the way it is. And oh yeah, speaking of women, Alonzo also has a side chick who's played by Eva Mendes, and he has a son out of wedlock. Like, just another reason to not like Alonzo. You know? But let's talk about this kid. The kid is funny. I like the kid because he could never stop looking at the camera. He can never stop looking at the camera, and it's fucking hilarious to me. He just can't stop looking at the camera. Like, he tries to stop. It's like somebody is off camera, like Antoine Fuqua or somebody's off camera telling him not to look at the camera, but he keeps looking at the camera, and then they tell him, no, don't look at the camera, and he just kind of glances off into space and shit, you know. You know, like, and I've never seen that kid again. I think I know why. I'm like, he's not a very good child actor. But yeah. But anyway, Alonzo assembles his crew for a big score. They're going to take somebody down. And who are they going to take down, you might ask? Well, it's Roger. They rob Roger, which is what this whole thing was about. And Alonzo was just using Jake as a scapegoat. You know, like, Alonzo was testing Jake this whole time to see if he was corruptible. And he found out that he wasn't, so he has no more use for him. You know, he has no more use for him. After he finds out that he can't corrupt him, he's like, alright, I'm done with this motherfucker. But he plays the game. He plays the game until the end. And like, he keeps luring Jake in until that final time that he lures Jake in, and then that's when you find out that at the end of the day, he doesn't give a fuck about Jake. He was just trying to save his own ass. Just trying to save his own ass from the Russians. That's what this whole thing was robbing Roger and getting money to the Russians. That's all this is. He tried to do all this bullshit about upholding the law, and this is what we gotta do with street justice. You know, like, if we don't go out here and start busting heads, the criminals win and all this bullshit. You know, but he doesn't give a fuck about that. He doesn't give a fuck about the law. He doesn't give a fuck about Jake. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself. Alright, and so he was just using Jake and manipulating Jake this whole goddamn time. So that was pretty much it. Because, like, this movie has so many puzzle pieces. It has so many puzzle pieces. There's so much connective tissue that it's insane. Like, everything that happens in this movie matters. Everything. Like, you can't, like, discard anything. You can't discard anything. Anything that happens is going to go into something that happens in the future. And I like that about this movie. Like overall, I still enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Like, the storytelling is just phenomenal. Just like the way they just connect everything is like just amazing. Like I said, everything matters in this movie. Everything. The acting is top notch. I really think this is the movie that took Ethan Hawke to another level. Like, he went from teen idol to serious adult actor with this role, because like that's what he was in the 80s and the 90s. I think like he became an adult in like the mid to late 90s, you know. So, but like it just wasn't clicking for him. It just wasn't clicking for him. He wasn't gritty enough. People didn't believe him enough as an actor. You know, it just wasn't working for him coming from being a child actor. But Training Day is the thing that sent him over the top. And now Ethan Hawke's an amazing actor now. Denzel Washington, like, is just amazing as Alonzo. Like he was meant to play this role. I know a lot of black people don't like the fact that he won an Oscar for this role, but he deserved that Oscar. Like, he's really good. He's really good in this role. Like, because he played so many good guys for most of his career up until this point, it's really jarring to see him play a bad guy, but he pulls it off, and that's why I think he deserves that Oscar. He deserves another Oscar for not being affected by a naked Eva Mendes. So, you know, yeah, because we also get a naked Eva Mendes in this movie, which is always a plus, you know. But all joking aside, this movie is just fucking perfect. I love it. Still to this day, I give it a 5 out of 5. Join me next week when I talk about 2004's $1 Million Baby. Until next time, peace.